Hello and welcome to Behind the Lines. I'm Diane Dayton. Today we're going to talk about something really fascinating. Dinosaurs are among us, and they're at the North Museum, and we're going to tell you all about that and so much more at the North Museum. With us right now we have Molly Wolanski, and you are the Exhibits and Collections Manager. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Scott Downs, you are the Director of Development and Strategic Partnerships.
I am.
You are,
again,
okay.
Thank you.
So this, wow. The dinosaurs among us. This is such a coup. This is so amazing that we have it here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the American Museum of Natural History selected the North Museum right here in Lancaster as the only U.S. museum for this prestigious exhibit.
Yeah, so when they initially reached out, I did not know that we were going to be the only museum in the United States launching this exhibit. I just thought we were one of many. And to hear the other three presenting partners are such a global reach, it was really like kicked it up a notch in the level of importance. And it's all because the American Museum of Natural History has insight into what we have in our collection, and our collection can really tell the whole story of the exhibit.
And that's what's going to be amazing when people come, right, Scott?
Oh, for sure, for sure. The American Museum of Natural History has done a great job with their initial presentation, and what they did is they created a new model for a traveling show where we have the imagery, but we were selected because of the depth of our collection, of our ornithological collection, our collection of eggs and dinosaur artifacts and specimens, so that we now have the challenge of bringing it to life and making something two-dimensional, three-dimensional, and experiential.
Wow. So explain a little bit more how this came about, because this is really major partnerships and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it all started with a single email where I got an email from the exhibit office at AMNH, or American Museum of Natural History, basically asking like, hey, we think you would be a good fit for this. Do you want to be part of this? And so I kind of passed it up the chain. I didn't think it would become anything because it's just, I didn't know if we could afford to do it or just like in general. And then Andrea, our CEO, was like, yeah, go for it, get more information. And here we are now.
AMNH is a longtime partner of the North Museum, so we had the good fortune of having worked together in the past. They know our capabilities, and they know what our collections are like. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how many museums were initially approached, but we were thrilled to be one of them, and then to learn that, yes, we're one of 4 in the world who's going to have the opportunity to present this at this time is just spectacular.
It is spectacular. So sponsors were key as well, correct?
For sure.
Correct.
And we're still working on that.
Okay,
actually.
so if you want to be a sponsor, get a hold of...
Scott Downs at the North Museum, for sure. Yeah.
For sure. And volunteers are needed too, right?
Yes, we always need volunteers at the North Museum in all capacities.
So what are some of those capacities?
So in my department, specifically the curatorial department, I'm always looking for volunteers who are able to come in and work on collections inventory for me, or even helping me move exhibit cases around and do some of the heavier lifting that comes with the exhibit part of the job that they don't tell you when you sign up is like, oh yeah, you have to lift this like 80-pound case lid to do any changes. So that's where the volunteers really come in handy, is I have some people who I can trust to help me lift and move things. And then also volunteers can take on like larger projects within my department. I have a volunteer archivist who is retired from the archival world and is coming in and working with our collection and helping me preserve it for the future.
That sounds great.
We also have opportunities for tour guides and docents occasionally who are subject matter experts, where they have the opportunity to work with groups who are coming through the museum and talk to them about our exhibits and collections, but also add some additional color to it or utilize their knowledge. We have opportunities for people who want to work in our early childhood development programs to kind of work with or coach or mentor kids, and also our science fair for subject matter experts to be judges. if you have an interest in nature, science, STEM
Yeah.
education, come to us and we'll find a spot for you.
Or anything. If you have an interest in almost like any area, we can relate to something at the museum where you can help us. Like,
Okay.
oh, you like animals? Come volunteer in our live animal room
Yeah.
and help interpret our what I consider coworkers to the general public, and also, yeah.
Yeah, that would be really great to interact that way.
Yeah.
So there's so much going on. This is 70 years of the North Museum
Yes.
here in Lancaster, and it is such a treasure, I think, for our community. So you're talking about live animal room as one option. What else is in there?
Well, there's so much at the North Museum, and we have chosen to celebrate our 70th anniversary by looking forward. And we like to think big, and I think Dinosaurs Among Us is a wonderful representation of that. But we also, that extends to so many of our different programs and so many of our different collections and exhibitions. Right now, Molly is just putting together a new exhibition on our second floor of, help me, Molly.
Coral
it's-
reefs. I
There
you go,
bringing it up
coral reefs.
yesterday.
I know. So I
Yeah.
saw it. Yeah. So it's just spectacular. It's beautiful, and there's so much more. Downstairs are our permanent collections of our ornithology and geology, minerals, gemstones, and people have the opportunity to see and to touch and to experience what all of these facets of nature are all about.
Yeah, so what age group is this for?
Everyone.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
And it's a great way to introduce young children to different things, right?
For
Yes.
sure. We have a program called Little Explorer and Me, which is geared towards parents bringing their children in, and the children get to experience the museum, and we have some terrific programs and activities for them. But as importantly, the parents have the opportunity to network and meet each other, and we help to coach them on ways that they can foster an interest in STEM education and science with their children, because that parental reinforcement is so critically important as children develop.
Yeah, and it creates that bond with something, with
Absolutely.
parent and child too, doesn't it? And something exciting to do.
Yeah,
And I love the planetarium.
it's terrific.
It
It's
is.
the biggest planetarium in central Pennsylvania, and it can show you so much more than the sky. And I
Yeah.
think that's another great facet. We can take you to the center of the earth,
Yeah.
underwater, wherever you choose to go.
I love to sit there and just be immersed in all of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a fantasy.
Yeah, I
It's great.
definitely recommend checking out our night sky tours that we
Ooh,
do
okay.
once a month. We do them, I believe, the third weekend of the month. We had one this past weekend where our planetarium educators will take you through the night sky as it is above you this month. And so you can take what you learn in that night sky tour and actually apply it to the sky you see above you that night.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, the hours for the North Museum are Wednesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And initially it's an $11 admission, and then an additional $7 if you want the planetarium, is that
Correct.
correct? All right, got that memorized, huh?
Yes.
So it's very affordable, and I think that's key too, isn't it?
It really is, and the other thing that doesn't even factor in there is we have a lot of free and reduced price programs and opportunities so that everyone in our community has access to the museum and the wonders to be found there. We don't ever want that to be an obstacle for people.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of wonders there, and we're going to take a brief pause and come back and talk about more of them. So stay with us. It's the North Museum. What a treasure.
You're watching Lancaster Community TV, LCTV 66.
Welcome back to Behind the Lines. We're talking about the North Museum, and specifically one really fantastic exhibit going right now is Dinosaurs Among Us. We're still with Scott and we're with Molly. So tell us what we're going to see at this exhibit. It's actually going on now through March of next year in 2024.
So the exhibit really takes you through the entire journey of the evolution of birds from dinosaurs, and actually argues that the age of dinosaurs is now. And we have more species of birds on Earth today than discovered dinosaurs. And so it looks at the common traits that are shared by both birds and their ancestors, the dinosaurs. The three that the exhibit focuses on are eggs, nests, and babies. So how each animal reproduces, focusing on the structure of the egg. Oh, and then the second section looks at bones, beaks, and claws. And so it looks at the skeletal similarities and differences between birds and dinosaurs. And then the third section looks at feathers and the development of the ability of flight. Oh. And how birds were able to bridge that gap, and you get to see some beautiful recreations of feathered dinosaurs across the entire spectrum and history of dinosaurs, including a couple of my favorites in the exhibit, which one of them is the Microraptor, and that one is featured in our flight section.
Wow. This truly is exciting. And once again, if you're just joining us, this is the only museum in the United States to have this exhibit, and it's 1 out of 4 in the world.
And actually, we were the first to launch. So the museums in Canada, Mexico, and Spain will all be launching this fall. So we were kind of proud to say that ours was the world premiere, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. But the community had to come together for this.
Absolutely.
How did that work?
So we realized in our exhibit development process that while I am the exhibits manager at the museum, I'm not a fully trained exhibit designer. And so we decided to reach out to our local network of design and art-oriented people in the community. So we reached out to local artists who we've partnered with in the past. I reached out to some exhibit development connections I had. We reached out to people up at Rock Lidditz and built on a partnership with some friends up there. And then also we worked with other local designers and artists of different types to really think through the goals of the exhibit and how we really want to show it to the world.
We also utilized friends and family with some construction abilities that Molly and I lack, and those were tremendously appreciated.
Yes.
It was really a wonderful way for so many people in the community to come together and help us shape our vision for what this exhibit could be. And we're so proud, not just of the exhibit, but of what everybody accomplished.
Very, very cool.
And it really ties to the history of volunteerism in the North Museum over the 70 years of its operation. For the early part and for most of the history of the museum, we were largely a volunteer-driven organization with a lot of dedicated volunteers and staff members.
Okay. So this exhibit obviously is amazing. We were talking earlier about some of the other collections, the planetarium, live animals, which are in 3 categories, or what, Scott?
We have mammals, we have snakes, we have lizards. And I'm not the science guy.
So there are all these different categories.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of things, and you can find out a lot about that. There is a science fair that's an annual event, correct?
Correct. The North Museum Science and Engineering Fair, which also just celebrated its 70th anniversary. The North Museum has been running this as the County Science and Engineering Fair since 2009, and we're actually affiliated with the International Science and Engineering Fair, which is the largest pre-college competition in the country. We're one of only a handful in the state that has that affiliation. And what's really cool is we start at the beginning of the year. We work with all of the high schools in Lancaster County as well as private and even home schools. And there's a whole graduated process of the kids working and submitting their projects. After they're assessed and we have the fair itself, our senior champion and our grand champion are flown or transported at our expense and put up to spend a week at the International Science and Engineering Fair and have that experience and compete with their peers from all over the world. This year, one of our students was actually a sophomore, in fact, was invited to work on and publish a paper and do a presentation at a university, which was just incredible.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
You should also mention that this is free for students to participate
Correct.
in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's always good to know, too.
Yes.
And you have STEM Sisters, right?
Yes.
What is that?
STEM Sisters is a program designed to foster interest in girls and young women to pursue STEM educational and career opportunities. It's so critically important that girls have the opportunity to be exposed to what so many mistakenly perceive as male-oriented careers.
Right.
And there's so many opportunities, and by fostering that interest, you create economic opportunities for young women later on. It's critically important, too, that between elementary school and middle school and high school, they're receiving that encouragement. Otherwise, there's a significant drop-off, as there is with all childhood education. So we have lots of career exploratory programs, lots of hands-on activities, opportunities for girls to receive career and educational advice, to be mentored, all kinds of learning opportunities designed just for them. And it's just so critically important in our community, and it really extends to all of central Pennsylvania as a whole.
There's so much going on at the North Museum. What is the website? Where do we find you?
So you can find us online at northmuseum.org. We're also pretty active on our Facebook page, Instagram, and our LinkedIn as well.
Under North Museum?
Yes.
Okay. So we can find out all things North Museum.
Absolutely,
Yes.
and most importantly, too, if you're interested in supporting STEM education in our community, you can reach out and contact us there, because these programs, these exhibitions, they don't exist without the support of our sponsors and the generosity of all those who donate their time and money to
Right.
the
So there
community.
is a place for everybody there, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where friends, family can go. It's a real wonderful event. And there's always, like you said, things changing, so new
Oh, for
things
sure.
happening. So come to check it out, too. Once again, the hours are Wednesday through Sunday. I've got this memorized. 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's $11 to get in. And then you just add on, what is it?
$7
$7 for the planetarium.
And you don't want to miss that.
And you don't want to miss that.
We have new shows every month.
Okay, so monthly shows with the planetarium.
Yes.
And it's always fun to leave with something too.
Yeah.
So that's why you have a wonderful gift shop too, don't you?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So what do you have at the gift shop? What are things they can take?
So we have a lot of great merchandise that ties to almost every area of our museum, from dinosaur-related merchandise and space, all the way to like birds. And we have a great rock selection, and you can buy 4 rocks for $10.
Ooh.
What's also cool, and Molly thought about her own childhood experiences in museums and has stocked the museum store with the things that Molly would have loved as a kid to have and walk out with.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are affordable. Parents
Yes.
give their kids a couple of dollars to come to
Yeah.
the museum. They can walk home with something.
We
Shark's
have-
teeth.
We have
Who knows?
things, so many items in our gift shop that are under $5. And some, one of our best sellers actually is one of our 50-cent items.
Oh, really?
They're just little tiny plastic dinosaurs.
Oh.
They sell so well, and they're really something that's easy to access for all consumers.
Yeah. So what have we not talked about that you want to make sure we know or don't forget, Scott?
Well, I think the most important thing, first of all, Dinosaurs Among Us is also bilingual. And we are thrilled to have that level of access. And in fact, it's inspired us to start working towards converting more of our exhibitions and programming to those who are Spanish speaking or other
Yes.
languages as well. So I think that one's critically important. Beyond that, support the North Museum. Come visit us. Contribute to it from a volunteer standpoint, from a financial standpoint. Recognize it and tell your friends, tell your family what a wonderful gem we have in our community.
And you're easy to find, so tell us where you're located. You're right on the corner of...
College and Buchanan Ave. So we're right on the bottom corner of F&M's campus. and really well situated in the community.
Yeah, we have a long-term lease. We're not going anywhere,
Yep.
so come and see us.
That's right. So give me a final thought about the dinosaurs among us, Molly.
Well, I think I'm just going to end on the statement from the exhibit, the age of dinosaurs is now.
It is, and this is where we're going to get a lot of those questions answered, and we might even have more questions after we look at this
That's
too,
what
which
we
is
hope.
what it's about, right? To
sure.
stimulate that. Yeah, this is wonderful. So northmuseum.org, you can find out everything that's going on there. You can get tickets there too,
Yes,
right?
you can purchase tickets in advance, although we typically don't sell out. The only things we may sell out of are planetarium shows on the weekends.
Right.
So I'd recommend if you're planning on seeing a planetarium show to purchase in advance. But otherwise, we take walk-ins at the door as well.
That sounds good to me. So if you
Perfect.
get up and you think, wow, I want to investigate my inner science person, let's just go do this,
That's right. Find the inner scientist inside
Yep.
of yourself.
That's right, and come join you. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much, Scott. Thank you so much, Molly, and thank you for bringing these exhibits and all these wonderful collections to us here. It really makes a difference in our community.
Thanks so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us today, too. I'm Diane Dayton with Behind the Lines, reminding you to look behind the lines. You might be surprised what you find.